Are MAC makeup brushes still worth it in 2023 and beyond? I recall a time when MAC brushes were perceived as being the highest quality, and so they were worth the splurge. With the growing number of makeup brush brands popping up with equally high quality brushes that are often available for a fraction of the cost, should you really make the investment in MAC brushes in 2024? If you want to hear the perspective of someone who has nearly 40 MAC makeup brushes, then keep watching. Welcome and welcome back. I'm Mercedes and I'm bringing you my MAC makeup brush collection and recommendation video. With nearly 40 brushes, I'll break this video out into a two-part series. In part one, I'll cover my large face brushes, and part two, I'll cover my eye, lip, and other small sort of random brushes that are sort of more multi-purpose. I'll link down below, so be sure to check it out in the description box, to each of the brushes where they're still available. Some have been discontinued, and I'll try to make sure that I let you know when I'm discussing a brush that is discontinued, so it's no longer for sale by MAC, and we'll let you know how to keep yourself safe if you want to get it on for resale somewhere, because there are certainly any number of both sites and individuals looking to sell some of these brushes that have been discontinued. I encourage you to drop questions in the comments down below and let me know which of these brushes is your favorite. Things organized, I want to let you know what I plan to cover throughout the video. I'll first again start with my face brushes in this video, and then in part two I'll make sure I cover my smaller brushes. For the face brushes, I'll let you know the number and name where I know it for each of the brushes. I will also let you know what MAC designed the brush to be used to apply. For example, is it a brush that you can use only with powder, or can it be used with powdery, emollient, cream, or liquid complexion products? I'll also let you know how I use in past tense or currently use the brush. And I say that because there are some of the brushes in my MAC makeup brush collection that I don't use currently. So I'll let you know how I used them way back when. And for brushes that are currently still in rotation, I'll let you know how I use them. And finally, I'll round it out with my recommendation as to whether or not you should pick this brush up moving forward. Without further ado, let's hop into the very first brush, and this is the angle contour brush. It is the MAC 168. I had to make sure I had that number down, right? I'll also show you the density where I can. We'll see. Hopefully that was clear. I'll make sure that I on the screen include a zoomed in video if I can work my editing magic here. Cut me some slack. I am fairly new at YouTube videos. This is a really interesting brush. This is a multi-purpose brush. And what I mean by that is you can use this brush to apply both contour products, which is why it has that angular shape to it, but you can also use it to apply blush. And from my understanding, you can apply powder, cream, and liquid products using this brush. And I can attest to that. I don't currently use this brush, but a whole lot. How I used to use it is I used to use it to apply blush for the most part, and I would occasionally use it to apply a contour product. When on the off chance that I do grab this brush, I am usually blending in a cream or a liquid contour product. And so it does very well at that. When it comes to whether or not you should pick this brush up, it's very soft. It is one of my favorite MAC brushes. I just have acquired so many brushes that it's not currently in the rotation a lot. I would say you should grab an angled brush like this. Do you need to pick up this one? Not necessarily. I'll show you one of my preferred brushes. So this is a Sephora, and I already covered this in my Sephora brush collection video. If you have not seen it, you should go watch it. I'll link that down below for you as well. This is the Sephora 93. It's a pro blush brush. It too has an angle. It's larger. I find it softer, and therefore it is my preference. I like the bristles on it a little bit more. It's a little more densely packed, and so it is my go-to right now. You know, these things ebb and flow, and I might be grabbing this soon, but I would say grab a brush like this, but there are cheaper alternatives out there, so you do not need to grab this brush per se. You might be able to grab something that's larger, but if you have a smaller face, you might actually prefer this particular brush, which again is the MAC 168. Moving right along, let's talk about another angled brush. So this is the MAC 170. So I'll try to come in a little bit more so that you can see this brush. You can also check out the density on this brush. I will say this is a nice brush. So this is an angled foundation brush. Spoiler alert, I like this brush. You can use this brush to apply both cream and liquid products, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't use it a ton as of late. But when I first picked this brush up in the last year or so, I used it a lot. I like this brush so much that I picked up its little sister, which I'll feature in part 2 of this video series. So be sure to check that out. Shameless plug when it's available. But I like this. One of the reasons I like it so much is I love how densely packed the fibers are, which allows for me to really get good coverage. I also like how soft it is. It feels so smooth. I wish you could feel it. It feels so smooth and soft on the skin. I really like this brush. I would say you should splurge and get it. If you have the means, you can pick it up, or you have a MAC brush preference and you want a brush like this, you don't already have a brush like this in your collection, I would say you should pick this up. Again, this is the MAC 170, and I do think that this is worth it in 2024. So I will move us right along to another brush, which is the MAC 134. It is a large paddle brush. So this is, I believe, the very first brush that I'm going to cover in the video series that is currently discontinued or unavailable by MAC. But you still can buy this brush online. I bought it from MAC many years ago, but I checked when I was pulling the links for this video, and there are a lot of sellers online selling this brush. Again, do your due diligence. Make sure that the brush is indeed authentic. MAC brushes are already expensive, and resellers are going to hike the prices up because you can't get it through MAC. So make sure that you, to the extent to which you can, do your due diligence and make sure that you're getting an authentic brush. I would hate to see you get scammed. And I will say, let me first cover what this brush is designed to be used to apply and then tell you my thoughts on it. So this is a large brush. I'll cover another large brush in a minute. This brush, as my understanding, is designed to be used with powder products, in particular bronzing products on both the face and the body. MAC says this brush, when I picked it up many moons ago, that's in fact what I used when to apply this brush. I don't love it. I have a preferred bronzer brush, and this is again another Sephora brush. The Sephora 80 is my preferred brush. It is just softer. I like the shape of it. It applies an application that's just much more in line with the look that I'm typically going for when I'm applying my powder bronzer products. So I don't use this brush a lot. It's just a little wonky, and I never really did, to be honest. So besides the fact that it's no longer available through MAC, I would not recommend that you purchase this brush even resale. It's just not a brush that I ever really used. And for that alone, I think there's better, cheaper alternatives out there. I just showed you one. There are like far more that you can just throw a rock and hit. I would say you can go without the MAC 134. That is just my humble opinion. Let's move right along to the MAC 150. And some of my brushes are so old that they no longer have numbers on them. So I might have to look at my cheat sheet to make sure that I know the number of the brush. So this is a large, fluffy powder brush. So as the name suggests, this brush is designed to be used in applying powder products. And it's a little dirty, which is hilarious because I hardly ever use this brush anymore. So I got this many moons ago. If you're wondering why I have these pink sort of tags down at the bottom of some of my brushes and not others, I was friends with a lot of, and still am, with MAC makeup artists who painted the tips of their brushes to just be able to tell them apart from their colleagues when they were on large makeup jobs. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So I took one of my favorite colors, which was apparently a hot pink nail polish, and painted the ends. I stopped doing that, which is why you won't see my brushes. Many of them will not be painted. I also probably ran out of the pink nail polish. But anyways, just in case you're wondering, they are indeed MAC brushes, authentic AF, but some are painted. So anyhow, back to the brush at hand, the MAC 150, the large powder brush. I used to use this brush religiously to apply my all over powder complexion products. I don't use it as much nowadays because I just think it's a little rough. One of my favorite, and I'll grab it here, hopefully I have it, yay. This is the MAC 150. The Sephora 150 or 50. This is the 150, MAC 150, Sephora 50. See, they're literally trying to trip me up here. I just prefer this brush. It's dirty. Unlike this is a little dirty, but these MAC brushes, I clean them for you. My Sephora brushes get regular use, so they are pretty dirty. But I just think this brush is a lot softer, and so I hardly find myself gravitating to this brush. And so for that alone, I would say you should absolutely have a large powder fluffy brush in your collection. Do you need the MAC 150? I don't think so. In fact, I think the Sephora 50 is actually a better alternative. So that's the verdict on the MAC 150. A very similar brush, almost its little sister, is the MAC 129. So I'll try to zoom in there. I'm not sure how clear that will be. So the 129 is a blush brush, if the look didn't give it away. This is a very cute brush. What I mentioned earlier, that I used to apply my blush with this brush, and then I think I graduated and picked this brush up many moons ago, and I loved it. I use it faithfully to apply my blush. I believe you can use both powder, cream, as well as liquid blushes, if I'm not mistaken. You could also use this brush to apply highlighter of those same formulas to your face as well. When I use it, again, like I said, I predominantly use this to apply my blush products. I cannot remember the last time I've used this brush, and that you won't be surprised is because there are Sephora blush brushes that I love more. And I actually showed you one of them earlier, which was the Sephora 93. I'll also show you the ones that I've been using as of late. One is the Sephora 96. I'll try to zoom in again. I know that this is not about Sephora brushes, but large part of this video is to actually share my recommendations. And so if there's an alternative that I use in lieu of the MAC brush, I want to keep it all the way 100 with you and let you know. Another Sephora brush that is a blush brush is the Sephora 99. And I just think that if I compare that to the MAC 129, I appreciate how much smaller the Sephora brush is. I also like how much softer the bristles are, that brush hairs are. So that's just my preference. But I used to use this brush down when I got it forever ago. So these are very old brushes. And again, I can attest to the quality because none of my barrels have come apart. The brushes are in great shape all these years later. Over 10 years ago, I bought many of these MAC brushes, unless I let you know that they're relatively new. So anyhow, the MAC 129, do you need a brush like this in your collection? I would recommend, if you love wearing blush. I love blush. You can see that I have 3 different Sephora brushes, excuse me. I don't know that you need this one. So I would pass on that. So then let's move right along. This is the MAC 187. So this is the MAC 187, and I'm going to cheat and also cover the MAC 130 at the same time because these brushes are so similar. One is the mama and one is the baby. So, or the big sibling and the little sibling. Having way too much fun with this. So cheesy. I am going to say, I'll stick to the order. These brushes are designed to be used to apply both complexion products as well as skincare, if I'm not mistaken. That you can use liquid, emollient, and cream products. You probably don't want to use powder products with these brushes. They're just not dense enough. You can see they have these black sort of fibers or hairs that are shorter and more densely packed, and then they have these thinner, more sparse white hairs on the tips of both of them. And again, the main difference in the two, the 187 and the 130, is just that the 187 is a much larger brush. This one is designed to help you kind of get into those hard to reach areas of the face. These, foundation, largely foundation, With this brush, you might apply concealer. You might also apply liquid highlighter and other cream highlight products. I do not like them. You might wonder, why did you buy 2 of them? I was probably influenced, and I also used to like a more light to medium coverage, and I still do sometimes. These are still not the brushes that I would go to when applying complexion products, even if I'm doing a light or medium application. I just don't like them. I recall them being more straight, like being streaky, and I was not a huge fan of these brushes. And I remember when everyone wanted them. They were everywhere. And I never really liked them then. So they are still in my collection. Happy to have them because I love makeup. I love makeup brushes, and MAC brushes are, pretty high quality. But at the same time, I don't love them. I never use them. And so I would not make the recommendation that you pick up either one of these brushes. I think that there are cheaper alternatives on the market. Again, these brushes are really high quality though. So if you have let this caveat sort of cascade throughout my recommendations. If you have a MAC brush preference, you have the capacity to pick them up, feel free, pick them up, even if I make the recommendation that you don't. So anyhow, covered 2. Let's swing to the MAC 1, I believe, 09. I like to look so close on that one. So the MAC 109, although it's clearly not choosing to focus in this moment. So trying to figure this thing out. The MAC 109 was one of my faves. This is a brush that is really, you can probably tell by the shape of it. It's rounded out, it's small, that was me trying to show the hollows of my cheek there. I don't know how I did, but that's what I was trying to do. This is a brush that's designed to use to apply complexion products like like contour products to your face. And that's exactly what I used it for when I used this brush. And there were a couple other uses for this brush in my collection anyhow. And I believe it's powder, and you could do cream and liquid with this particular brush. I don't use it a ton for that. Even back when I got it many moons ago, I used to apply foundation with this brush. I have a friend who's a former MAC makeup artist who would do makeup looks with like foundation with this brush, and she always said because it was so small, it allowed you to really get into those hard to reach corners of the face, and it also created a really cool buffed out look, believe it or not. And so I started doing the same thing, and I loved it. And in fact, one of the ways that I will occasionally use this brush lately is I will use it to blend in my color corrector, and just same thing, kind of buffing motion. I will buff in that color corrector before I apply my complexion product like my foundation or my tinted moisturizer or skin tint. So I would say, you don't know, do you need a brush like this? No, I would say you should definitely get a brush that you can use to contour with. And you might get a brush that's more of a multi-purpose brush like the one I showed you earlier that you can use to apply blush, highlighter, contouring, and bronzing products. So you might get one that just, you can do a little bit more with it. But I like this brush. So I would, if your heart fancies it, again, you might have a MAC brush preference, or you have the coin and you want to get this 109. Get it. You won't be sad. It's a really cool brush. Okay, we are almost drawing part 1 to a close. Let's cover the MAC 190, which is this almost like paintbrush, paddle brush. So the MAC 190 is a foundation brush through and through. Liquid and cream, if I'm not mistaken, but mostly liquid. No powder. This is not a powder brush. This is a powder brush. This is not a powder brush. This brush is not my favorite. I will just say, when I use it, I would occasionally use it to apply skincare, and I would sometimes use it to apply my foundation. I did like it at first, but quickly I just realized that I like a brush that I can do more buffing motions with, and this just ain't it, right? It's like categorically not designed to do that. And so if you also have that preference, you probably won't like this brush. I will say this. So this is not a brush that I would recommend you get, and because I never use it for the reasons I just laid out. And I believe MAC is discontinuing this brush because it has been on sale and it's in the like going away section or last chance section of the MAC website. That means that it's like half off. I've not been talking about prices. Again, I will link these brushes down below where they are available. You can check out the prices. I did not want to get bogged down with that in this video. And so this one, though, I will share is half off. So if you do like this brush, despite what I just said about not liking it, and you want it, get it. And get it now while you can still get it from MAC and while you can get it at a deep discount. So it's about half off. So anyhow, MAC 190 is a foundation brush, liquid cream foundations only. Okay, winding down. Now the MAC 184, one of my favorites. You might feel like I'm beating up on MAC. I love my MAC brush collection, by the way. Oops, get my hand off my mic. I do. I definitely love it. And this is one that is no exception. I love it. This brush, as you might wonder, think it's a church fan. It is not. It is a fan-like brush. It allows you to do a couple things. I looked it up on the MAC website. They said it's for like more light dustings of complexion products, powder, if that's not obvious. But you can also use it if you are a deep baker, like you bake underneath your eyes with loose powder. You can use it to dust away the excess product when you're done, or if you also are needing to dust away excess eyeshadow fallout that you get, this is a good brush for that. That is not what I use this brush for. This is, for me, a highlight brush. I love it. In fact, it pains me to do my makeup today without this highlight brush. I have an alternative, so I survived, but I wanted to keep it clean for this video. But I love this brush, and I use this predominantly to put almost every day to apply my highlight products. And so you won't be surprised when I say you should get it. If you have the resources, it's still available from MAC. You should get it. You won't be sorry. I love highlighter, so I'm glad that I have a specific highlight brush, and this is a great option. So there we go. I do love some MAC brushes. Okay, second to last brush is the MAC 128. We'll see. And I am rolling it around intentionally from side to side so that you can see this is a sort of a dual split fiber brush. It's almost like Two-Face, like that character from the movie. I don't know if it's one of the Marvel movies, Two-Face, but I do not like this. Again, MAC 128, this is a blush brush. Look at it. Look at it compared to some of the other blush brushes that I shared. Like, why? Like, what? I bought it, so, you know, the joke's on me. I thought it was cool probably because it looked like this. And, you know, I was a collector, like collecting MAC makeup brushes. Clearly, I said I had nearly 40 and I'm not a makeup artist. So anyhow, I do not like this brush. So you could use it to apply cream, liquid. I believe that you could probably definitely use it to apply powder. It's a little too dense, so it probably would not be the best application. So probably want to stick to cream and liquid blushes. I would say no, if that's not already obvious. I think it's the weirdest brush that I have. One of the weirder brushes in my MAC makeup brush collection. So I would not recommend that you invest in this brush, especially with the better blush brush alternatives out there for cheaper, and that will get the job done a lot better. But so that's the verdict, and no but to it. The verdict is no. Mercedes says don't get it. Spend your coin elsewhere. Okay. Now we've come to the end. I have just one more brush, and I'm sad that I'm ending on a weird brush note. So this is the MAC 192. I think this is the 192. Look how clear that got. So this brush is one so I had to look it up. So I'm like, what does this brush do, by the way? I know how I used to use it, but I don't know officially like what it was designed to do. So this 192, you can see it is like very densely packed. There are more waxy bristles or hairs, brush hairs. I keep saying bristles. I don't know, bristles, hairs. But the hairs on the brush are definitely more, they're waxy, on the waxier side. So cream, emollient, and liquid products. This is a multi-purpose face brush, it said on the website, or it's discontinued. So this brush is also discontinued. I should also let you know. You can again find it for resale. Be careful, be careful, be careful. I again won't work. I wouldn't even recommend it. I used it for concealer. That's one of the ways you can use it. You can also use it to apply liquid and cream highlight. You can use it to apply skincare products underneath the eye. I don't know why I bought it. Again, I was building the collection. Don't judge me. I bought it so you don't have to buy it, by the way. No, just kidding. No, I would not buy this. I would not buy this brush. I probably did not use it a ton. I can't remember because it's so old. But I would say you do not need to add the MAC 192 to your collection. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of video 1, or part 1 of the 2-part series, which I focused in on my face brushes from my MAC collection. Hopefully you found it to be helpful. Again, I would encourage you to let me know if you have any questions about the brushes, and let me know which of the brushes do you still love. Like, I gave a shout out and told you to buy some of the brushes, and I hope I did you a solid and told you which brushes you could absolutely avoid. Again, stay tuned for part 2, where I will go into and there are more brushes in part 2. In part 2, I'll cover the eye, lip, and other sort of random small multi-use face brushes. So thanks for watching. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on your bell notifications so you won't miss when I put uploads out.